Othello is more than just a tragedy. It is a tragedy about deceit, jealousy, and the abuse of power. Shakespeare's 1603 play Othello explores many complex themes about human nature and society. One of the crucial themes that Othello examines is the negative implications of power, conveyed within the tragic plot and style of the play. Specifically, the dangers of an imbalance of power are explored throughout the play, often interweaving with and influencing other themes such as patriarchy, racism, and jealousy. Othello critiques the unjust power structures of patriarchy. The brutally unfair treatment of Emilia and Desdemona is indicative of the power the male characters have over them. For example, Desdemona is considered unable to make her own judgments as her father Brabantio insists that it was witchcraft or drugs rather than Desdemona's own choice that would lead her to love Othello. This idea that Othello is too ugly to love under normal circumstances and that Desdemona is incapable of making her own decisions shows the racist and sexist prejudices Brabantio has against both women and non-Europeans, and mirrors the fact that white men had, and continue to have, an imbalanced and disproportionately large amount of power within both England and much of the Western world. Brabantio's last lines in the play, "Look to her more, if thou hast eyes to see, she has deceived her father and may thee," are rhyming couplets. This technique emphasizes his message that Desdemona has deceived and defied her father by falling in love with someone he does not personally approve of. Furthermore, Brabantio's lines also plant a seed of suspicion within Othello, one Iago picks up on and uses to his advantage. Shakespeare critiques this patriarchal power by showing how even though Desdemona was true, faithful and honest, she was a victim of the sexist assumption that women are unstable deceivers who can't be trusted. The critique of institutionalised racism is another example of Othello showing the negative effects of an imbalance of power within society. Despite Othello being a highly capable general, he is described as an old black ram, a Barbary horse, and making the beast with two backs with Desdemona by Iago, in an attempt to dehumanise him. These zoomorphic metaphors tie into the great chain of being, a Jacobean power structure that perceives animals as being inferior to humans. By portraying Othello as an animal, Iago is justifying racial prejudice against non-Europeans on the basis that they are subhuman. To quote Marilyn French's analysis of Othello, control over others is power. By this notion, Iago is the most powerful character in the play, proven by the ultimate success of his plan to disgrace Othello and swindle Roderigo. Iago's power over the other characters lies in the manipulation granted by his false identity, which he confesses to Roderigo at the start of Act 1, "I am not what I am." The repetition of honest Iago by multiple characters shows that they have not seen through his facade, allowing him complete influence and control over them and, by extension, power. Iago is the most power-hungry character in the play. After being denied a promotion in power and status from ensign to lieutenant, Iago successfully manages to gain full control over Othello, convincing him to kill Desdemona and ultimately ruining him. Iago also has power over Roderigo, taking his money and killing him in Act 5. Emilia, who he threatens and abuses using his power as a man, Cassio, who he convinces to get drunk and lose his power as lieutenant, and even Desdemona, who calls him good Iago, showing she has fallen for his false visage. Shakespeare explores the dangers of such power over others, as Iago's power leads to the deaths of Othello, Desdemona, Emilia and Roderigo, none of whom deserved to die. Othello is a critique of power vastly ahead of its time. Shakespeare's notions of the tragic effects of an imbalance of power fueled by patriarchy, racism and control are still applicable to this very day. While less unbalanced than during the Jacobean era, the implications of power and its abuse and misuse is still a question that society has to confront today.